Now, before I start this story, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Burly and Grum. Burly is a big bear. He's got a friend called Grum. Now, Grum is what's called a groblin, and we'll tell you what a groblin is very soon. They have a friend called Max. He, like us, is a human, and he can understand everything Burly and Grum say and goes on a lot of adventures with them. So let's start the story with Burly and Grum, the tiger's tale. Grum the groblin spun the pointer and watched carefully as it twirled round and round. When it finally came to rest, he looked up from the board. "Burly, front right paw, yellow dot." Here they are playing it. Burlington Bear twisted his neck around as far as he could and glared at Grum. "You've got to be joking," he said. "I'll never get over there, and anyway," he glanced up at the tiger, who was spread out across him on the twister board. "One of us is using his tail to tickle, and it isn't me." The tiger angled his head slightly so he could see Burly. Not," he said. "My tail just goes wherever it wants." "Oh, really?" said Burly. "Well, not anymore." He stretched out and over and put his right paw firmly on the yellow dot. The tiger's tail happened to be already lying across the yellow dot. He likes crispy fried earwigs. Now, I'll tell you something else about groblins. They're very hard to find, even harder to find than tigers. They're pea green in colour, they've got large red eyebrows and red eyes.
Here we go.
And they look somewhat like him. There he is, there's Grum.
Yay!
He's a strange looking guy, isn't he? Doesn't look like us. Now, although you expect to be surprised by someone who looks like that, "You have to get out of my way. I need to get home. Wee Morag isn't well." He's from Scotland. He glanced down at her anxiously. Hamish had 5 children altogether, 4 boys, who were almost grown up, and Morag, who was the youngest. Usually Morag's black eyes were bright as a button, and she raced around laughing and chattering, but today her eyes were dull and she wobbled a little bit as she stood next to her father. Burly, Grum and Titan were immediately worried, and Titan bent his head to sniff her carefully. He was very fond of Morag. "Oh, I'm so sorry, Hamish," said Burly. "Of course you've got to go. She really isn't looking very well at all. Is that why the alarm has gone off?" Hamish looked around, his black eyes fearful, his body trembling. "Oh, no," he said. "You don't understand. The alarm has gone off because of Man. Man is coming." Titan roared with anger at the thought of humans in the forest. Burly and Grum jumped behind a thick bush, just as a man came in a canoe and paddled up to the riverbank. They watched as he jumped out and hauled it up into the shallow bank. He was tall and slim, grey-haired, and he wore glasses that kept slipping down his nose. "I can jump on him from here," whispered down Titan. "No, you'll damage him," whispered back Burly. "That's the whole point," came the reply. "Let's see what he does first," said Burly. Can you see a gun?" Titan looked into the canoe. "No." "He's got a large bag, though," said Grum. "He could have one in there." "Oh, for Groblin's sake," said Grum. "I've had enough of this. Let's go and ask him what he wants." Burly's paws whipped out to grab him, but it was too late. Grum had pushed back the branches of the bush and was striding towards the man. Titan leapt right at the man, knocking him to the ground and pinning him down. The amber eyes flashed, his sharp canine teeth were less than an inch from the man's face, and his hot breath steamed up his glasses. Grum bent down and peered right into the man's face. "He doesn't seem very scared." "I think I would be if I had a tiger in my face." The man finally managed to catch his breath. "I say," he spluttered, "how absolutely marvellous! A wild tiger!" Grum looked up. "He has a tiger weighing a ton, slobbering all over his face, and he's happy? Strange." He peered at Burly and Grum. "A tiger who seems to be friends with a bear and, what exactly are you?" he asked Grum. I'm a goblin, replied Grum. Remarkable, remarkable, said the man. A whole new species. We're not new, snorted Grum. What are you doing here? Burly asked. Oh, I'm tracking tigers, replied the man excitedly. Titan's angry roar filled the whole forest. Oh gosh, sorry old thing, said the man. I didn't mean to upset you. I don't mean trackers in hunting, more counting tigers, really. Quite harmless, don't you know? The silence was broken by the sound of frantic paws scrambling, running towards them. Hamish burst into the clearing and ran up to them, completely oblivious to the fact there was a man sitting there. Burly, Burly, quick, you have to come. His voice was panicked and full of fear. It's wee Morag. She's really sick. She collapsed when we got home and I think she's gonna die, Burly. Everyone leapt to their feet, the previous conversation immediately forgotten. Please, you have to come. Hamish turned around and ran back the way he came, with Burly, Grum, Titan and Simon hot on his heels. They pushed their way through the undergrowth and the grass, this way and that, until Hamish finally came to a halt in front of a hollowed-out tree trunk. His wife, Elspeth, came running out. Oh, Burly, thank goodness you're here. Can you help, please? She's really sick. Burly lay down on his stomach and peered into the back of the hollowed-out tree. I say, old chap, do you need a torch? Simon held out what looked like an iron stick. Grum immediately grabbed it. What does this do? He asked. Simon pressed a button on the side and light shone from one end. Pretty cool, said Grum. I'll shine it in the hole, Burly. Then you'll be able to see Morag properly. Side by side they lay together, with Grum holding the torch steadily so that the beam of light lit up the inside of Hamish's home. There, in the far corner, lay little Morag. Her 4 older brothers were clustered around her anxiously. Can you move, please? Burly asked them. The porcupines parted and Burly could see Morag properly. She was very pale and her eyes were closed. He reached in a paw and gently felt her forehead with his pads. Despite the fact she was pale and looked cool, she was burning up. She whimpered and turned over restlessly. Can you get her out here? Asked Burly. I need to have a closer look. Hamish and Elspeth rushed into the hollow and then nudged and pulled her bed until it was out in the open. Everyone crowded round. Morag whimpered again and curled up into a ball. Burly picked her up carefully and she lay still in the centre of his paw. He gently uncurled her so that he could see her more clearly. There, on her stomach, were bright red spots. He blew out a low sigh. Morag had forest fever, and there was no known... But then, as if by a miracle, Morag coughed. Her eyelids fluttered, and she opened her eyes and looked around. Mum? Dad? Aye, we're here, my darling, said Elspeth, holding one of Morag's paws. We're here. I feel funny. I know, darling, but that will pass. You just rest now, okay? I'm hungry. She's hungry, shouted Grum. She's hungry, everybody. She's going to be all right. Burly slapped Grum on the back and his smile stretched from ear to ear. Morag's brothers raced around cheering. Tears rolled back down Elspeth's cheeks, and Hamish looked as though he was going to explode with happiness. You did a great job, Burly told Simon. Simon grinned. Just in the right place at the right time, don't you know? Titan bent his head and gently sniffed Morag to make sure she was okay. Morag giggled and patted his nose. Hamish bustled up to Simon. Thank you. You saved her life, he said, his chin wobbling a little bit. Simon hunkered down to speak to him. I say, old chap, it was absolutely my pleasure. You'd have done the same thing. This calls for a celebration, said Burly. A party, said Grum. Brilliant idea. Titan roared and strode over to stand menacingly in front of Simon. Everyone was silent. My brother Major lives at the bottom of the foothills, said Titan. Stripes lives to the east, Sir where the river starts its journey, and Traherne is on the far side of the mountain. Excitement gleamed in Simon's eyes. I say, thank you, old chap. You don't know how much this means. There's more, said Titan. Oh, how marvellous, said Simon happily. I need a map and some pens. Hold on, old thing. Man and tiger working together, said Burly, watching them. Who'd have thought? Well, I didn't see that coming, said Grum. I was betting on Titan eating him. Me too, admitted Burly. Morag gave a little cough. Can I have some of your special ice cream, Burly? I've got a sore throat. You can have as much ice cream as you like, said Burly. In fact, everyone can have as much ice cream as they like. It's party time! Titan roared, Grum shouted, Simon threw his hat in the air with a loud whoop, the porcupines cheered, and then the party began. Thanks.